Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another AFL Fantasy Fanatics round review. Late one tonight as the late Sunday night game. I don't mind Sunday night footy, but I know a lot of people probably want it to be finished earlier so they can make their rage trades, I'm sure, with a few people disappointing over this round. I'm your host, Bales, and you can find me at BAILSDT across the socials. And for those tuning in on the podcast, we're recording live on Sunday, the 4th of May, after the completion of round 8. And joining me, none of my regular co-hosts, and we've got someone on that isn't a special guest anymore because we've got him on loan for the remainder of the season. He's a fantasy fanatic for the rest of the 2024 season. That is Jordy Descender. Jordy, mate, firstly, good to have you on board for the remainder of the season. We'll see how your loan spell goes, mate, but glad to have you on, mate. How are you?
Good, mate. Yeah, thanks for the intro. Great to be on board for this year, and love chatting fantasy. So, thanks for having me, and keen to chat about the weekend. Wasn't the best one for me, so slid back a couple spots. So, it'd be good to see what we can do this week.
Yep. Yes, exactly. The Fantasy Fanatics mid-season draft has come and gone. So we've drafted you there in the mid-season draft. So welcome aboard, mate. Looking forward to having you. And joining us is a special guest. Jumped on a couple of times already this year, and thought we'd get him on again because he's in Perth. So it makes it a little bit easier with a late finish. And that is our good friend Taezer. Taezer, mate, how are you?
Yeah, good. Thanks, mate. Really good weekend, and keen to go through the footy.
Yep, exactly. Well, we'll start off with you, mate. How did you score this week? What was your round rank and where are you sitting now for your overall rank?
Good question about the round rank. I can't tell you that one off the top of my head, but I did score a 22.01. It did slightly improve my rank by about 50 slots up to 585. So just ticking along. I was probably let down a little bit by some primos that didn't fire, as happens with lots of teams. But I'm pretty happy with having all the pieces that I want in there. I don't really have any headache players that I feel like I've got to get out of the side, and I've got so some of the players we're going to be talking about the rest of tonight that are near must-haves. People like Sheasel and Gorn that I think other teams will be possibly considering breaking their team just to fit him in. I've got him there. Stoked.
Yeah. Talk about a flex to start a podcast. I love it. When you're going well, I love when you can flex, because if you're not going well, like myself, but we're on the improve, so we'll get to mine in a sec. But Jordy, mate, how did you go for the round? What did you score? What was your round rank and overall rank?
Yeah, I got 2169. The round 8 rank was 14,624. So that's not great, but the rank went to 273. So I was 166 last week. So that's 107 slid down. So not too bad. Would have liked to gone up, but I think not having Levi on field that last game, I think that's what made me slide back, because I took Boxall 74, so I'm sure we can discuss that. But still in the hump. So that's the thing. It's a long season, so we're keen to think about what we're doing this week.
Yeah, exactly. I think a few people would have actually done that. Taken the Boxall 74 just on the off chance. Talk about Levi, like thinking is he going to get rested or get a sub, but he was epic in that last game. So I'm sure we'll get to him throughout the pod. And then for me, 2188. I thought I was probably going to have a slightly better round, but round rank of 11,114. So I would have liked 3 more spots better, because it would have been the triple, the 5 times of 1. So 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. But still good. But that saw me rise to 8,263. So rose up about 1,400 spots from my rank last week. So I'm still liking the fact that I've improved rank again, and we're moving forward. A few people in the chat saying apparently we're constantly freezing and buffering, but I'm looking on my stream on my phone, and it seems to be going pretty well. So I don't quite know.
You're all good on my end, man.
And I'm good on my end, and everyone's complaining. I'm on the Wi-Fi. There's not sure what's happening there, but we'll push through, because I'm gone. Jordy, gone good for you?
Yeah, it seems fine for me. So yep.
Yeah, I'm not sure. A lot of people commenting here saying for me to upgrade my internet, but it's not coming through on my end. So just relax, people. Just relax, mate. don't know if you had a bad week or anything like that, but let's keep going. But yeah, so not too bad. Good to rise up and rank yet again. It is nice. But Taezer, we'll go back to you. Your plus and minus 3 for the week.
+3, I'll probably go with Sheasel. Just nice. I went a couple of weeks early on him, and really happy to get repaid with a good score this week.
Beautiful. -3?
Or mine would probably have to go to Jack Sinclair. Just paid up for him at over $1 million for him a few weeks ago. He started off well with a good score against Richmond for me, and then ever since then he just kind of hasn't really clicked. And I'm wondering if Wanganeen Miller is really good form is maybe taking the ball out of his hands a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's something to watch for sure. Jordy, mate, your plus and minus 3?
+3 would go Max Gawn for the 158, which was, a big one there. -3, I'll go with, might be a bit harsh, but I'll go with Lindsay, 33. That's the lowest score. Wasn't great, I thought, against West Coast. So, yeah. But, as, we're talking before, as Taezer said, probably most people had him on field with the matchup. So, yeah, can't be too upset, but I'll give him the -3.
Yeah, I reckon that what the problem is, it seems to be YouTube that must be the issue, because I always play it on my phone just to make sure the stream's going along well, and StreamYard's going fine, but YouTube seems to be the issue there. So what I'll do, I'll refresh in a sec and see if that does help anything, but I'll go through my plus and -3 very quickly now. So my plus and -3, I would have given it to Sheasel on debut with the 134, but he's been taken by Taezer, so can't go him. So I'll go someone else. So for me, +3. I'd be remiss if I didn't go to Jack McRae for his 139. Joy, did you go? You didn't go Jack McRae, did you?
Nah, McGawn.
Okay, cool. I was just, reading all the chat, so didn't catch your +3 there. But so Jack McRae, 139. A few people looking at trading him out, but held strong with him. He put up a really good score. And
I just want to put a bonus +3, and I think it'd be the same as yours, Bales, and that goes to Clayton Oliver. For taking a week off, it meant that I held Levi Ashcroft instead of trading him out, as was my original plans. So thank you for that, because that would have really hurt trading out Levi and missing out on that 115. Yep,
exactly. He did a favour, and it sounds like he'll be back this week from what Melbourne and a few people have said around the situation, which is good. So hopefully getting back for anyone that held him there. Jack McRae, that 66-point last quarter as well was epic. So very, very happy with him trucking along. And probably unfortunate to guys like Marek and Levi not to get my +3 there, but thought I'd shout out Jack McRae with a big score. -3 though. There was a few poorer scores. I'll probably give it to Andrew Brayshaw. A few rookies put up low scores, but at the end of the day, Andrew Brayshaw, he's a premium. He's been good for the last few weeks, but a bad start from him there, and didn't really get going much in the game, and Freo didn't really get going too much there. So unfortunately, he is my -3 with the 78. Got some attention from Garcia and a few players throughout the game, but gave away 4 free kicks, didn't help. So hopefully he bounces back against Collingwood. Just a quick update on the Content Creators Cup as well, if it loads, but now this isn't loading, so maybe we've got dramas happening with the internet everywhere. Let me see. Here we go. Finally, it's loaded. So the Content Creators Cup, as always, proudly brought to you by Infinite Wealth. So in terms of the results from the Fantasy Fanatics this week, so I went down to Mitch yet again by 22 points. Very, very unfortunate. There for me. I still haven't beaten Mitch in the history of the Content Creators Cup, so it'd be nice if I could do it for once. Shout out to Max Gawn. Sorry, not Max Gawn. Tim English, or could have been Max Gawn essentially, but Tim English 145 went absolutely massive, and then me having Xavier Lindsay, and that was the uniques. That was really the massive difference in the matchup, unfortunately. Guesty got the job done over Luke, so at least half of the Fantasy Fanatics, or part of the Fantasy Fanatics, got the job done over the Ball Boys. Guesty scored really well this week, 22-27, which put him as the third highest coach in the Content Creators Cup this week. Won by 13 points there. Jordox, he came up against MJ, so he went down by 60 points, 21-36 to 21-96. And Jaiden got the job done over John Holm, the winner of the 20th coaching spot in the Content Creators Cup, 21-43 to 20-98. So not too bad across the board there. Me and Jordox, unfortunately, letting the guys down. And yeah, top scoring coach in the league this week was, I believe it was Sanch, who got a 22-77, who edged out Holmes, who got a 22-71. There as well. So a few other 2200s there. Louis got a 2200 there. Obviously, Mitch got a 2200. So, of course, I lost to one of the top scoring coaches in the Content Creators Cup.
I think Warney scored well as well this week.
Yes, exactly. Yep. No, he had a very, very good week. We also have 1, 2, 3. We've got 4 coaches now inside the top 1,000. Louis, 294th. Lemon, 309th. Luke is going on very, very nicely. 845th. And DC is 934th. Then you've also got MJ, Sanch just outside the top 1,000. Holmesy there, Jeppa, Nathan inside the top 2K. And then we've got a few coaches there. So just the 3 coaches now outside the top 10K. So almost everyone is inside the 10K now. So, yes, let's get into the games and get stuck into all of the scores over the weekend. So we'll start off on Thursday night, which was Essendon and North Melbourne. A close game here with Essendon getting the job done by 3 points. And I think we do have to start off with the North Melbourne duo, Taezer, Harry Sheasel and Tristan Sherrin. We'll chat about Harry Sheasel first, and you'll chat about it while I quickly refresh on my end, the stream and everything like that. But Harry Sheasel, half-back role, probably non-owners got away that slightly last week with the 95 in a tough matchup with a bit of attention from Power for Sheasel, but this was the game where he went massive. Is he a guy that we need to be bringing into our sides if you don't have him?
Yeah, I think this is probably the cheapest he's going to be if he stays in this role. It's North and they're a struggling side, so who knows if they get moved around a little bit and he goes back to a mid role. But while he's in this role, he is about as sure as a 110 to 115 as you can get. And if teams don't put work into him, he's going to go 120, 130, I think, with pretty good regularity, especially with some matchups coming up against Richmond. Even Collingwood probably aren't going to put a lot of pressure on him in that role. So yeah, I think he's pretty close to a must-have, but that term's probably not the best one to use. So we'll see.
Yeah, exactly. Jordy, what are your thoughts on Harry Sheasel?
Yeah, same. I brought him in this week. I'm very happy to have the VC on him. I think, as Taezer said, yeah, great price. He's at 105 at the moment. So he's not too pricey. I think it's probably a fair price with I think Bales, you were saying, potentially you could go 110, 115 in the halfback role. The only thing, a lot of coaches, he didn't scare me off, but he's got the round 12 bye. So a lot of coaches are scared off with how many people you got on the round 12 bye would be the only thing. For my team, I've got Sheasel there. I've got Rosie in the midfield, who I think after round 11 will get that DPP. So I'd have him and Sheasel in defence. And then I'm probably looking at maybe you trade a Caleb Daniel. So I'd probably just look at your buy players. But other than that, I think he's a great buy. And I think, I'm not sure that the halfback role will change. Yeah, it depends what North do, but I think he should be pretty set in that, I would say, for at least a couple of weeks.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. The good thing is few people in the chat saying that the streams weren't perfect now. So just a quick refresh is good. So people listening back to the podcast, this is what happens when we record live. So, but sometimes we have some doozies, but we push on and hopefully provide you with some good content for you. But yeah, so I think the two key things with Sheasel is, one, North have been competitive and have played some good footy, some patches where they've let some goals slip, but last 2 weeks they've been pretty competitive and they probably should have won the game against Essendon on the weekend. They had the chance to do it. Obviously, unfortunate for Finbar Marley when he was going for goal and got called for too long and a few key missed chances there. But there was that. But also his words in the week when he was talking on radio, Harry Sheasel, and said the coaches actually want me to get more uncontested ball and want me to be using the ball around the ground and sort of kick-starting those chains moving forward. So that was good to hear. And I think this role's going to stay. And I said it last week. I said on the Sunday pod, I think he's a 110 minimum and potentially a 115 guy, maybe the number one scoring player in the game from here. So if you can get him, his break even is now sitting at 105. He's got a decent run now for the next few weeks in the early buy. So if it doesn't stuff your buy structure up or anything, I think paying up for him will be a really good option for you. But yeah, and Tristan Cherry as well, 121. That's now 4 scores in a row over 115. He is well and truly back for anyone that was worried, and it was off a 5-day break as well. So, and I know he's up against Goldie, but still good to see him going along really nicely. So if you don't have him, jump on board because there are going to be some big scores coming because he's not getting the tackles at the moment. I think that there will be it'll be good moving forward. Zach Merritt was also really good with a 117. Really got going the second half. Had a quiet first half, but got there in the end, which is nice. Zach Reid, of course, me and a few other people traded him, and he scores really well once we trade. So just the story of my year trading out all these good players that go really well. But if you're holding him, you keep holding him. I think he's got some more cash to make. Nick Martin was a bit quiet here. Caleb Daniel, Jordy, is one I want to touch on. So,
yeah,
I think people this week could be stuck in a situation where maybe they don't have the cash to go up to really anyone decent. I think probably the cheapest guy I'd be happy to bring in is like a Chad Warner, like mid 800s. I think everyone else below there's quite speculative.
Yep.
Is Caleb Daniel, like going someone down and Caleb Daniel up to someone, a play for you? It probably fixes up a buy structure with around 12. People have probably got a surplus of forwards. I've got 3, I believe, at the moment in my team in the midfield, and people probably got at least 1. Is he a guy that can go? Obviously, Sheasel's clearly impacted his role. Is Caleb Daniel potentially on the chopping block for you?
I think so. I think, like, looking at his last 3, he's gone at 77, and the last 5's gone at 83. So if he's going at, with Sheasel back there, if he's going at about 80, he's not going to be a top 6 forward, really. And we've now got Petrarca and Warner and these types. I'll have to look at it this week if I want to jump off. It would have been great if, like, Philippou played this week and I could have seen him play and then gone, okay, maybe... Because if you did, like, a Caleb Daniel to a Philippou, that would almost bank you 200K cash, almost 200K, which would be, you know, I mean, we've been talking about rookie crisis and stuff. I think there's some rookies coming through, but that could be a creative move that, you know, coaches could potentially look at. But obviously, Philippou not playing, we have to sort of probably give that a week. I think you can definitely look at it. I just make sure you've got, you know, if you're going to trade, I don't know whether I would be going a straight switch to Chad Warner. I just feel like they probably do the same, maybe like 80, 90. Maybe there's a bit of upskirt for Chad Warner. I'd want to be going down to like a Philippou or something, or going him up to a midfielder and putting like a Levi or a Marich or someone in your midfield forward to cover that spot, and go Daniel up to like a Green or a Dacos or a Sheasel even. If you go Daniel to Sheasel, it could be a play. But I think, you know, make sure you're looking at who's on field and your rookies and stuff first before doing that.
Yep. I like that. Just a couple others just quickly here. Riley Hardiman, 73, could be a rookie option for you to consider. They're a little bit more expensive, but had a good game. They did have a massive second quarter, though, so just probably factor that in. That 73 might not be as consistent as behind Sheasel and Daniel there, but could still be an option with limited rookies. And then a few other sort of like lower rookie scores here. And I still don't even know how Harry Jones, he's only going to be out for a month. That looked awful, seeing that vision. But it's great for him that he's not going to be missing too much footy, because that looked like a potential season ender there. Moving over to...
one more thing, Bales. Just speaking of injuries, Ridley's done a hammy. They think it's on the more serious side, so he's going to be minimum probably 4 or 5 weeks, but it could be more once scans are back. Him stepping out will probably open the door for a 230K rookie Will Hayes, who hasn't gone under 80 in the VFL and has had some pop scores of about 130 and I think 120 or 119 or something like that. So I'm very much got an eye on him if he's named as a replacement for Jordan Ridley.
Yeah, he's someone to look for as well. And also, maybe Sardell Hawley comes back in with Harry Jones out. Maybe that frees up a wing spot, so that could be a red dot for a few people that turned into a green dot. We'll move on to the Friday night game. Just as if you are watching live as well, please let us know if the stream is going along All right, so I would be keen to see if it is, because it seems good on our end still, but just, it'd be good if people update us to see if it is going well, because if not, I have to refresh or try and connect my hotspot or something to it, and we'll see if we can work out a way if it was still paying up. But we'll go to St Kilda and Freo, with St Kilda smashing Freo here by 61 points. Sorry, Taezer, for that one there. But yeah, Jack McRae, massive, 139. He was big. Jack Steele, 113. Jordy, he was pretty good. So we know he had that knee injury, had a good score before the knee injury, sort of slowly working his way back, and had the 113 here. 11 tackles, helping him to get there, and had a big last quarter. Is he someone that you'd be interested in keeping on your watch list? Any thoughts on Jack Steele?
Yeah, potentially. Like, I know there's been something about his knee, but I mean, Ross came out and said, I think last week he was at 100%. I mean, that's what Ross said. So I'm just looking here. He's priced at $9.32, a pretty good price. And I'm just going to have a look at the CBAs, because I reckon he would have been one of the main guys in there.
Yeah, definitely. Top
yes,
dog.
definitely. And his TOG is 81%. So that's looking good, because last week, I think, or the week before, he's at 65. You probably could look at it. Like, he's got the role. He's the captain. 932K. I mean, we know he can score. It could be one that you could take a punt on, and especially that R13 buy. That's a pretty good buy as well. What's he got? Carlton, West Coast, Gold Coast, Melbourne. So some decent matchups there as well.
And that round 13 bye, which could be handy. Obviously, a few people got a lot of players from Freo and St Kilda already, so something to keep an eye on. He is quite cheap, so one to watch. Taezer?
I don't mind having an extra round 13, or even a couple extra round 13 players that I wouldn't mind hopping off, because often what happens when you get to round 13, you start, you've already kind of chewed through. You're probably keeping your round 13 players. There's usually not that many rookies to get off. So I don't mind having an extra one and using that as a week to turn Jack Steele into someone coming off the round 12 by, maybe Bont.
Yep. Yes, exactly. Shizu, if people don't jump on, Cherry, others like that.
One just thing with Jack Steele that I did notice is his score build was 11 tackles, which on one side is great. On the other side, that's pretty hard sledding if that's how he's going to build. And he seemed very inside and not really spreading for a lot of marks and things. So, he's cheap enough that you could probably go early, but I wouldn't mind. I might consider waiting one more week and just seeing how he goes.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, with Jack Steele, both of his marks came in the last quarter when the game was pretty much done. So, yeah, something to watch for sure. Most people saying it's still working, but then Brendan there saying it's still buffering for him. So I'm not sure what exactly is going on. I can switch over to my hotspot and see if that does work, but we'll keep pushing through anyway. Regardless, hopefully it's still good audio for the people listening back on the pod or the video. Nasai Wanganeen Miller was good with a 103, getting the job done there. Ryan Marshall with a 91. Didn't really get a huge amount of the ball, but still won the hit-out battle. So he's still someone that's dropping in price to keep an eye on. Hugo Garcia, was it surprised he was responded after getting a spray? He actually played pretty well. Scored 84 for those people that held. Andrew Brayshaw, 78. Obviously was quiet in this one. Hopefully responds there. Hugh Boxall, as a person that didn't bring in Boxall at halftime, I was certainly hating fantasy again. But then thankfully didn't go too big. It was 74 was good for people that jumped on, because they're like good for cash gen, but also good for me because it makes it now obvious that he's the guy I got to go get. So he was very good. Low time on ground, so hopefully that takes a bit of an uptick, but we'll have to see what happens there. Caleb Sarong, Taezer, obviously one of your Freo guys, 65 again, just not really getting it done. What are you thinking with him in terms of moving forward? Is he someone that you'd be trading out? Is he someone you keep in on because he's going to get to a price where it's going to be really cheap? What are you thinking with a guy like Caleb Sarong?
No, probably the advice I really like around those kind of players is that if you don't own him, would you be keeping an eye on him? And the answer for me is yes. So I'm going to wait for things to turn with him, but he's getting pretty cheap, and even if he turns his form around, he's still going to be low 900s. And we just talked about Jack Steele, and I had no interest in Jack Steele 4 or 5 weeks ago, but now he's got to a price where I'm pretty interested. And you know his role, you know what he can do. He's, I think, 2 or 3 years in a row now he's been 105 guy. So I don't think it's turned around. He's out of form, and Freo's out of form in general. So if you think Freo, and fingers crossed, if you think Freo is going to turn their form around eventually, then he's probably going to turn his form around too.
With Sarong, he had 8 tackles, 15 disposals. The week before, he had 32 disposals and only 2 tackles. So it's good to see that he's tackling in this game. Obviously, just wasn't getting the ball. And obviously, Garcia, as you said, Bales, was playing well, but I noticed Garcia was tagging Sarong. So it wasn't the windy tag, but Garcia did go to him. So Ross obviously really rates Sarong, and he tags him pretty much every game. So yeah, I mean, to still be getting tagged, it's, you know, you're still you're still one of the best players, and definitely need to keep an eye on him. I wonder what his price is actually. He'd be getting very cheap.
900k now.
Yeah, he's 916k, break even 134. So he's going to be under 900k, and he started the season at 1.07 million. So you definitely got to keep an eye on that, especially, and the round 13 buy as well.
Yeah, he's probably going to get to a point where it's going to be too cheap to ignore, right? So we've got to keep an eye on it. But yeah, he typically isn't someone I love because he doesn't really rack up those marks and tackles. Like we'll chat about him in a couple of games time. But someone like a Jordan Dawson only had 22 disposals, but he still went over 120. So it's just like just unfortunately Sarong doesn't have the perfect fantasy game, but he might become too cheap where it's like, well, he's priced at 85 or 90 and goes at 100. We bring him in.
Look, I think something with Caleb Sarong is that he is Freo's best player. He is a really good player, and I think he is actually kind of underrated by a lot of people. His clearance work there's a reason everyone tags him. It's because he's that good. So I'm pretty sure Jaiden Papasky's talked about his clearance points or points from stoppages basically doesn't vary. Like he just gets, 80 odd points a game, I think it is, or 60 points a game, whatever was his baseline. And that doesn't change. The only thing that changes is whether or not he gets points in transition. And that's usually tied with him getting tagged. So he might be in that Lockie Neal territory. If you have to wait for him to be cheap, and you have to wait for a run of games where he's not getting tagged. But he'll always be someone that you got to keep an eye on.
Yeah, exactly. All right, moving over to the Saturday games. Well, a couple of beltings here, and then an absolute cracking game on the Saturday night, which we'll get to very shortly. But so the first one, the Dogs and Port Adelaide, and the Dogs absolutely annihilating Port here in a very one-sided affair. Tim English, 145, one of those scores that we were like similar to what we remember from a couple of years ago, where going absolutely massive. He was everywhere, kicked 3 goals in that. Whether he's the top 2 ruck, not sure. Obviously, Gawn's there, Cherry's there, Marshall's cheap. He's probably just in that situation for owners that have got him. You hold him. For owners that don't have him, probably not cheap enough to take that punt, and there's probably 2 other rucks you'd probably look at. So he's going very well for his owners. Unfortunately, Mitch had him this week, and a big reason why I lost. Bont 126, good option for after his round 12 bye, but don't think he's going to get too cheap, unfortunately, for anyone. So he is someone that we're going to keep an eye on there. Matt Kenny just keeps getting it done, 111. I wonder if at some point we have to look at maybe him as a top 6 forward just because he keeps smashing out these good scores. Zach Butters, 105, was one of the lone hands for Port here that got a pretty good score. Treloar even got a 90 in his first game back. Rosie got an 87. I wouldn't be too annoyed at that one there. Still scored all right, considering he only had 3 marks, and Port got belted, and it was a Ballarat, so not too bad. Fraser 85, Horn Francis 83. Probably could have been a bit bigger. A couple of behinds there, and had a good first half, but pretty quiet in the third quarter. A few low scores here like Kane Farrell. He can go if you've got him. Sam Davidson got subbed that tactically on 57. And then Riley Sanders 51. Jordy, if you've got one of those 2, are they one of the 2 of the priorities you'd be looking to trade out?
Yeah, I reckon so. I think Davo's pretty much fattened now. If he may have gone down this week, I flicked him last week, I think. Sanders, I think, as well. Now that Treloar's back, he's gone 250s. I know Treloar didn't play last week. But Treloar actually played that mid-forward role, which I guess Sanders has been playing forward. So Treloar had 48% forward time. So a few CBAs, but obviously playing that high half forward, rolling up a bit, which is probably going to affect Sanders moving forward. So, yeah, I think any of those guys can go. I will say, as you said, Bales, with Rosie and I feel the Port boys, like Butters got off to a really great start and then it sort of died off. I don't know. Ballarat is so windy and the conditions weren't amazing. And, yeah, I mean, I think over the years we've seen sort of funny things happen at Mars with some scoring and stuff. So I think 87 from Rosie's a pass mark and, yeah, big showdown this week. I think those guys should be fine. So I wouldn't be too worried about the primos there. So, yeah.
Yep, exactly right. So I wouldn't put it down too much to just the one game. And then someone probably could have got -3. And he's coaching well in terms of a football sense this year, but bloody Bevo. Like, Porter up by 70-odd points. Sorry, Porter down by 70-odd points. Why are you subbing on Bustling with like 5 minutes to go, 6 minutes to go? Like, just, it makes zero sense at all. We hate this sub rule. It's literally killing our cash gen this year. Hopefully it's gone next year. And we don't have to worry about it. But for this year, we're going to have to continue to deal with it with players being subbed out tactically and being the sub. And yeah, Bustlinger was just unfortunately another one there. He didn't quite get his break even, but with Liam Jones's hamstring injury or calf injury, I think it was, he should still be in the team for the next few weeks. But yeah, just unfortunate there with the subbing out. But I think that's it from that game. So we'll move over to another big result here for the Crows. Defeating Carlton there by 60 points. And obviously I was very happy at this game there. And a few Crow stars getting the job done. So Jordan Dawson, 122, did it with 3 goals this week. But if you want a stat line, like this stat line here, 22 disposals, 7 marks, 8 tackles, 3 goals, 1, a 122. Just like, it's just, I know Mitch references it all the time, and I do agree with him, obviously, because I'm a biased Crows fan for one, but also if I wasn't biased, I would tend to agree that he's probably got the most all-round fantasy game going around. He sometimes doesn't quite hit it sometimes, but more often than not, he'll get there in the end. But a 122, he's just a great own since the start of the year. Did play forward a bit more in this game, so just something to keep an eye on because he did play well for probably the first time I've actually seen him play well up forward. So, but if he can kick some goals, then I don't mind if he's resting 2-3 minutes in the forward line, then going back in the midfield. Isaac Rankin, 120, 2 goals, 2. Could have been a lot bigger, but 120, we 100% take his highest score of the season. Very, very good. Roy Laird, 98. I was talking to Taezer before we started recording. I think Laird's probably just going to score so many scores between 90 and 99. Maybe the odd score over 100, the odd score below 90. So probably not going to be someone that we're really targeting, which pains me to say. But if you want someone that can just score you 90, then he's probably your man. Peatling was 88, looked okay in the midfield. Actually looked pretty good in the midfield. So he could be someone as an underpriced guy that you might have a bit of a look at there. Chera with an 82, got there in the second half, had a pretty quiet first half there. Walsh, poor score. A lot of the Carlton players scored pretty poorly. But TDK 65, Taezer. 16 hit out, so clearly monstered in the ruck there. Is this... 2 of his last 3 have been 60s, to be honest, but they have been against Tristan Cherry and Riley O'Brien, 2 of the most restrictive ruckmen going around. Are you putting it down to the fact that it's just a hard matchup? He's got Saints this week. He's got a couple of decent matchups for his bye. If you have him, are you holding him? Or would you be making the move maybe to a Ryan Marshall now? Or if you've got the cash going up to a Max Gawn or a Tristan Cherry?
Well, full disclosure, I did have him and I traded him 2 weeks ago to Tristan Cherry. So I kind of saw this coming. He looked sore and tired. There was a few games, even one where he scored well, I think 3 weeks. Oh gosh, I can't remember what it was. A few weeks ago, he still looked tired. He looked like he was out on his feet. And I noticed there was games where he was scoring more in the first half and dropping off in the second half, which is what happened on this game. He was at, I think, 47 at halftime and then finished on 67. Does that sound about right? 20 points in the second
65,
half.
Yeah,
65.
65. Yeah. So it might have been 45, and then he scored 20 points in the second half. So I wouldn't be surprised if Pitnet came in, but I think we're getting so close to the buys now, and we're in that upgrade, downgrade kind of time that It's probably, unless there's another sideways trade that can really improve your team, I think you just ride him out for 3 more weeks, get to the bye, and then move on to the keeper that you want to have for the rest of the year.
Yeah. If Pitney's named as that, then a trade. If you've got TDK, would you be trading at that point then?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. I just think that with the way Carlton looked, like they're saying that they got like beaten up around the ball, but I don't really think that was to do with TDK. I don't think as much, and I just don't think Carlton, it's going to be good for them having Pitney, TDK, Harry Mackay, and Charlie Curnow all in the same team. I just think it's too tall. So the hope is, fingers crossed, that with the TDK Cup coming up on Friday night, Carlton and St Kilda, that they keep TDK as number one ruck, and we can ride that for a few more weeks before his bye. Going down this year, Saliga, unfortunately, another poor score. So if you did hold on to him in the hopes with Crouch being out, I'd be trading him definitely. And yeah, some low scores here. Unfortunately, yeah, I had one of Matt Carroll, brought him in this week, thinking he'd hold his spot for a few weeks and make cash. I think he was far from their worst. I think he had some good kicks, but at the end of the day, Carlton did lose, and he is a young player, so maybe they make a change there. So I'm hopeful they're not, but at the end of the day, it might be that's what they do. We'll move on to Collingwood and Geelong, and what a game this was. With Geelong getting the job done by 3 points, I honestly thought it was just made for Jack Crisp to kick that goal, and unfortunately pulled the kick to the right and missed it there. But Darcy Cameron, massive score, 140. Obviously played a lot of the game without Reece Stanley. He was up against Blitzarv, so good matchup for him. But if you do have him in draft or in Classic, you'd be very, very happy with that big score there. Pendles keeps getting it done. Another 100, another 120. But don't think any of us are jumping on, obviously, because he will get managed at some point. He might be the sub or subbed out or something at some point. So, but good on him for playing well over 400 games and still pumping out tons for our fantasy team. He's been one of the most consistent players that we have ever seen. Bailey Smith, 119, continues on his fantastic season. Josh Dacos, Jordy, 101. What did you make of his game? And is he someone that we could be targeting either to bring in for a midfielder and bring in a midfield, or even in our defence where we want to end up with him?
Definitely. He looked like really good, and he only had a 14-point last quarter, so he was ticking along really nicely. I think when the Geelong started to get that game back into their hands and it started getting quite, contested and stuff, obviously he was a bit quieter, and we saw that with Nick Dacos as well. He started so hot, and then I think the last quarter was a bit quieter, but he looks great. Josh Dacos, I think he's a really good price. Probably someone I'll probably look at this week. I think that 100 could have been a 120, I reckon, if the Pies sort of got on top of them and won that game. So, and then they, you would have got a bit more chip in the back line as they sort of would have, iced the game. But obviously with the situation, he didn't really see it much in that last quarter. So I think it's a great option.
Yeah, agreed. I think the big thing for me is that he took 8 kick-ins and Houston had 2, Braden Maynard had 1. That was the thing. I was like, if he can take the kick-ins, that can not only raise that floor, but also that ceiling can be there if he takes those marks. And I saw that. And yeah, I think he's a really good target and someone that definitely stocks are up after this week for sure. Nick Dacos, 92. Ocean Mullen was tagging him there. I did have a feeling he would go to him just with the sort of a comparable size, the speed.
That's the hardest tag I've seen this year.
Yeah, he was within an inch of his life, but it just shows how good Dacos is and the form he's in. Like he really probably should have turned up. That last quarter, I don't think he had many points at all. So
he had 4 points.
The fact he still he got to a 92 with 1 bad quarter just shows how good he is. So I think that if you don't have him, like myself, and I can't get the upgrade I want, I'm even looking at bringing him in for like a Caleb Daniel and making that move there. So something I'll be looking at this week. And to be honest, I partly hope I do it because then I can watch Collingwood games and be able to relax a bit there. Ned Long, 83, was solid. Slightly disappointed that they didn't trust him in the last 6 minutes of the game to sort of play when the game was on the line. But still 83, good for cash gen, making some good money. So we'll definitely take that, and he'll be a hold, I think, through to his bye. Max Holmes, I thought, looked better, but still not a great score with a 79. I think he's going to be an option for non-owners in 2 weeks. I think he in back-to-back weeks he plays Port and then GWS, so it might be the other way around. But once after those two, I think he goes Bulldogs and West Coast, and he's got some good matchups after that. So, so he goes Giants. But then again, who knows if Bedford's playing next week after copping a bit of a whack from Melican in the game today. But, Holmes is someone I'm still keeping an eye on. And I think if you've got him, I would be holding. Going down the list here, I was hopeful maybe with Stanley going down that SDK would get some ruck time, but he didn't really have it. It was more Blitzarves that went there. And that's pretty much it from that game. Lawson Humphrey's got a 51, and I don't know if I read somewhere that delayed concussion or something.
Concussion. Yeah, out for next week.
Yeah, so if you've got him, he's a trade for sure. And also for people that are watching live as well, he's on YouTube's end. There's obviously a problem with YouTube there, so the stream's still going fine. So apologies on behalf of YouTube. It's their fault, not ours. West Coast and West Coast and Melbourne is the next game here, and Melbourne getting the job done by 32 points, and a big reason for that was their big ruckman. Bloody hell, he's in some massive form, and how the last month has changed. He went from being a guy that we had to trade to now being the number one ruck and someone that we probably need in our sides. 158, 35 disposals for a ruckman as well is just obscene, and it's just fantastic for non-owners. An absolute just shit show if you don't have him, like myself. I definitely didn't watch that game, that's for sure. So it was annoying for me on Saturday night. Either I was watching Collingwood and watching Nick Dacos rack up, or I was watching Melbourne and West Coast and watching Gawn dominate. So I couldn't win unless I just turned the TV off, but I always watch the footy anyway. But he was great. Jordy, if you don't have Gawn, I know that you've got Gawn, but for people that don't, they've got like a TDK. Are you jumping to Gawn? Is he too expensive? He's had some really good matchups, obviously, with these big scores. So you sort of letting it through the keeper, and if you don't have him, just letting it go? Or do you think we need to be bringing him in?
I think he might be too expensive, I'm thinking. So he's at 1.14.
Wow.
It's a lot. I think I'm with Taezer on this one. If you got TDK, maybe you're probably better off going maybe a risk on a Marshall. If you haven't got Cherry, I think maybe that's probably where you look. But if you've got Cherry and TDK, do you just hold to that buy? Or do you go, I'm going to Marshall? And Marshall's only 3K more. And then you save that coin and wait on Gawn. But, he is, I think at this point of the year, he's a bit too expensive. But, hey, it's hard to go again. He's got Hawks. What's he's got? Hawks, Brisbane Swans. Yeah, I think he's a bit expensive for me personally, but yeah.
I was there live, and he was incredible. It was something to watch, and I think he missed two pretty easy set shots that just skewed off the instep of his foot. So it could have been more. He didn't go off in that last quarter. And I remember him talking to the runner, and I was there with a friend of the community, Jeppa, and talking to him, going, I don't think he's coming off this quarter. He kind of was signalling to the runner in between goals that I'm staying on. And so he ran out that last quarter with 100% game time. And he was just something else.
See, that's crazy because the week before he was on the bench for 15 minutes.
That's probably why he did it. He probably said, I don't want to be resting. So trying to bugger off. I want to be, because I think if he came off in that last quarter, Simon Goodwin would have said, no, stay off by a fair bit, whatever, you stay off. Yeah. But Henry V makes a good point in the chat there saying we have missed Gawn's best matchups, right? So if you don't own him, it's probably better to go for another option. And you can always jump on Gawn in the buys if he's continuing to do this. But we do have to remember he's 33, 34 years old. He's playing amazing football right now. Can he continue it for the whole year? I hope he does, because I really like Gawn, even though I don't own him. We'll see how he's going. But nevertheless, a monumental performance from him. Christian Petrarca with his first 120-plus score of the season with a 121. He was also very good there. And Ryan Marrick, who knew that he could score over 80 points? It was good, but still, 109 is fantastic. But there's still that sour taste when your player gets to that score, but doesn't go on with it. You only had 4 points in the last quarter. You've had your Jordan Dawson did it last week. A few players did it. Even Dacos only had 4 points. A few players do it. It's you're happy with the score. If you didn't watch the game, you go 109, fantastic, great for Marrick, right? But if you were watching the game and going, well, he did it again. I just feel like West Coast, though, don't really chip it around the last quarter. They just sort of go hell for leather to try and get some goals, which means that Marrick doesn't really get any of that chip mark there. But McGovern, I don't know if he suffered a concussion or or a jaw injury
Yeah.
or both. But I don't know. He'll be obviously missing next week with that. So Marek had the most kick-ins anyway there. But he'll be. He's got probably the two best matchups you can ask for in Richmond and St Kilda. So if you've got him, you definitely hold for the next 2 weeks. Jack Viney, 102, turned up again. And surprisingly, no one scored in the 90s. It was just then it was below 90 for everyone else. But Harvey Langford, 78, churned another good score for his owners. Bowie was looking like a bad score, but he got to an okay score with a 70 in the end. But a lot of Melbourne's defenders and outside players didn't really score too well in this game here, because you sort of go right down the list. Salem scored a 49. Hoff was someone a few people interested in, like myself. Apparently still had some midfield role, but didn't score much after quarter time there, which was unfortunate if anyone took the risk there. But the unfortunate one there, Taezer obviously being at the game, was Xavier Lindsay, 33. That was it's unacceptable. I know he's a rookie, but when you're playing West Coast at Optus, I definitely thought he would have scored at least a 50. But I thought there was a mistake with the AFL app. I kept refreshing last quarter, watching the other game and going, he's not going up. Maybe there's something wrong with the app. But nope, it was 33 and he just didn't score. Does he have to go now? Is he someone we've got to trade and look to upgrade?
Oh, look, firstly, just on his score, because I was watching in pain as he got just repeatedly stuck on the cold wing of the game. And the way West Coast played, and I probably want to flag it for future matchups, because there's this idea that West Coast is a pretty easy kill. They took all their all of the D's easy marks away. So there's definitely been a game plan shift, and they did it as well against Essendon. I think there was a lot of players about a fortnight ago that you expected someone like a Zach Merritt would cash in, and they took away the easy marks. So just watch that. As for Lindsay going forward, I haven't really looked at
break even's 47.
Yeah, I haven't looked what I can turn him into. He's on the chopping block. I might decide to keep him. I believe Hawthorn are one of the better matchups for outside mids, which is kind of surprising. Yeah, I think he'll probably come good for a reliable score. But look, as far as his cash gen has gone, it's probably the days of him going up 30, 40 grand a week are probably done, unfortunately.
Yeah, he's probably got to go and do a Levi Ashcroft and go pump out a big score to make some good cash, Jordy.
Yeah, just on that, what Taezer said. So I was looking at the points. So West Coast usually give up about 1,750 fantasy points. I think that's what they'll have been on average. Melbourne only scored, I think, 1,500, or it was 1,550. So there was 200 points less. And as Taezer said there, some of these, like last week, Salem went 139. He's gone 49. Bowie went, I think, 140. He's gone 70. May 39 and McVee 33. So I think you're right. Like the defenders, there's a bit of a game style change. And that's that game that Zach Reid went 30 against West Coast. We all thought it was a decent matchup, and we had him on field and he went 36, I think it was, a couple of weeks ago. So my question is, I think Richmond play him this week. Luke Traynor has just come out with an 87, and he's on my bench, and he's proven to be, someone we field, baby. But, Lindsay's come up with a 33 and Reed's come up with a 33. Is Traynor going to come out with a 33 this week?
I hope not. Obviously, a few people still got him there, and he pumped out a good score, which we'll get to him very shortly. But I think being at the G, I think that both those games that West Coast have held them low has been both at Optus. And obviously, they get a bit of extra motivation in front of the home crowd. They do play better at Optus. Being at the G, I don't think I'd be too worried, because Hawthorn are a pretty hard matchup as well for defenders, and Traynor went all right, particularly after halftime. So I think he's okay. But no, it is a good flag. I think that West Coast for defenders, last year they were hard. And some matchups they've given up some points, but there have been some matchups, particularly at Optus, that have been low. So maybe that's something we've got to be thinking about when playing against West Coast there. But yeah, Lindsay can be someone that if you can trade him, you can definitely do it. But also, if he's on your bench, maybe you could use him as a loop. Maybe you could hold him for a week if you've got other issues to deal with. But yeah, as Taezer said,
they play first game Saturday, so it's possible that you'll be able to loop them. But
Yeah, of course, our good friend and Loop, Angus Hasty, plays on the Friday night. So no Loop for a lot of people. Maybe Campo. Campo plays Friday night as well. So no Loops for midfield next week unless you got someone else.
Might have Moraes, maybe.
Yeah, maybe Moraes, yep, if people have got him there. But you never know. Port got beaten pretty badly. I wouldn't be shocked if he came back in, to be honest, next week.
Might.
Moving to the Sunday games. And as always, we are sponsored by Infinite Wealth, but also sponsored this year by our friends at Game Day Squad. So obviously another AFL fantasy platform there, but obviously do a number of other different sports, including the IPL, which I'm really getting into at the moment and nearly at the sort of playoffs for that. So if you are keen to get involved in another AFL fantasy platform and you sort of love and breathe fantasy sports like I do, then head over to gamedaysquad.com.au and sign up and use the code BAILSDT and you get 3 of the 9-player common packs valued at $21 just for using the code. So you sort of get that kickstart there, and it is free to play as well. That's the most important thing. You don't have to pay money. You can if you want, but you don't have to. So head to gamedaysquad.com.au and sign up with the code BAILSDT. And links in the description for more details on that one. Moving to the Sunday games and Battle of the Bridge. Sydney getting the job done here by 14 points. And there would have been people that probably traded Finn Callaghan over the last few weeks, and he pumped out a 121. He was fantastic. Lockie Whitfield scored at 107. Had Jordan for parts of the day, but still Whitfield's run and carry it didn't matter too much. He still got to a good score. Tom Green, 102. Still had 34 disposals. He does remind me of the bigger version of Caleb Sarong in a way. Just doesn't hit those marks and tackles. I think he had 3 of those 4 marks in the third quarter, and I think he had nearly half his score in that third quarter. So I think he's still okay to target, but I'd probably just be waiting just a little bit longer to see what he does. But it was a tougher matchup against Sydney there. Lockie Ash scored an 89. Isaac Heaney scored an 86. He's getting to a pretty cheap price. Probably want to see a game first where he goes well over the time, because we even know last year with how well he played, he wasn't really a player that went big many games. So just someone to keep an eye on. He's getting cheap. Don't know if I'd launch just yet. Matt Roberts got an 86, was good. Chad Warner was really good. Thought that was going to be well over a ton, but he slowed down more in the second half, but still played well with an 83. Taezer, is he someone that you're looking at targeting in the forward line?
Yeah. I'm pretty happy with my forward line. I've got 6 forwards that I'm pretty happy with rolling to the bye, with Caleb Daniel being my, I guess depending where I flick him around, my F6, but look, he's cheap, and if he's all you can get to, they've got a decent run coming up. I think they play Essendon. Let's see their run in the coming week. So Essendon this week, then Carlton, Melbourne, the Crows, and Richmond before they have their bye. So that's a pretty good run. I'm not opposed to going early on Warner or Heaney, even though both, you could probably wait a week or 2.
Yeah. Sam Wicks, for anyone that held him, I wish I did. 74, he was good, so made some more cash again. I thought the calf injury he got was going to be a multi-week absence, but he missed the 1 week. So, just another player that I trade out that scores really well. Joe Fonte, 70, could be another rookie option. He scored pretty well. So I think he did have some good moments in this game. So I think I'd be shocked if he got dropped. And I think a lot of us now hope that Connor Stone is now sort of dropped and we can use him as a defender and forward loop there. So, but we'll see what happens there, because Connor Stone does have some cash to make if he comes back into the team. Caden Cleary with the 61. The thing that stood out to me from him was his tackle pressure. The few tackles he laid actually led to Sydney goals. So if anyone was worried about him being a sub or getting dropped, I think he's firmly in that 22. I think he's playing that Papley role really well. And I think as long as Papley's out of the team, I think he's still a fair way away. He's in the team and going to put up some decent scores and will have a solid floor. I know he scored a 30 against, was it Port, I think it was. But every other game he's gone over 60. His tackles, he only had the 8 touches there and he still tackled. So if he can get some touches, he might put out another 80 or so. And against Essendon, that could certainly be a good score coming in that game there. Unfortunately, we go down to, I think, a lot of our favourite, Jordy, Miami Bice, Riley Bice, 44 points. Giants is one of the toughest matchups for defenders. So we'll put it there. But obviously the cash gen has definitely slowed right down, and the days of him making 100K, 80K, what it is probably gone unless he goes 150. Break even's at 76, but he's got a decent run to his bye, like Essendon, Carlton, Melbourne, Adelaide, and Richmond. But at the end of the day, he's in our team to make cash. What are you doing with Riley Bice, Jordy? Because I think we'll talk about Levi, but he was someone people were going to trade, but probably going to hold now. Is Bice someone that has got to go now, or what are you thinking?
Yeah, I haven't. First thought was like, oh no, I'm going to hold Bice, but you probably make a good point with Levi's making cash. I did see a thing today that Bice at the SCG hasn't actually scored as well as he has away. So he's up against the Bombers this week at Marvel. I wonder if there's a whole thing about...
He's played one game at Marvel this year.
Yeah. There's a whole thing about the SCG. It's obviously a smaller ground. He plays that defense, but also rolls up. So a bigger ground is probably better for him to get those chip marks, because that's what he does. He likes to run around and have more space to get those +6s and then run around. And maybe the SCG and as well as GWS in a tough matchup. So I think I'm going to hold him because, he's going to come up against Essendon. But I guess it depends who you could go to. Like, if you go and buy, to say, like a Sheasel and it's your only thing to do, then you're probably ticking that off, aren't you? So, I think for me, hold. But if you're getting Sheasel, then you probably got to do it. So I might just roll with, depending on what the biggest issue in your team is, I think.
Yeah, I don't know if it maybe cut out for me slightly because I said he's obviously plays at Marvel this week, and he's played at Marvel once this year. 125 against North Melbourne. So at the moment, he's got a career average of 125 at Marvel, and he's coming up against Essendon, who in the last 2 weeks, she's a 134. Week before, Josh Dacos 119. He could definitely put up a good score. So I'm probably holding as well, but I think it is probably a lot of us were just thinking, yep, he's there, not worrying about him. But I think now we've probably got to just look at him now and think maybe could we start to look at an upgrade, because his cash gen has definitely slowed down. But a tough matchup here as well. Sam Taylor 42. I know Liam doesn't want me to, so shout to Free Kick Liam doesn't want me to mention him, but I'm happy. First score under 70 since I got rid of him. So now it justifies the trade. Simple as that.
Vindicates.
Yeah, exactly. Vindication. Good friend from Brooklyn 99. I can hear the vindication going through there. On that note, we'll finish off on that game. We'll go over to Hawthorn in their 100th anniversary match, defeating Richmond by 65 points. Just a clinic for Hawthorn there, and a lot of tons here as well. So just showing how, like, Richmond again, to a very good matchup there. So Massimo and Josh Battle both over 120. Didn't have them on the bingo card as the top 2 scoring players of the game, but if you got them in draft, be very, very happy. Even Jaff as well, being the third highest scorer, was there. But Tim Taranto, 109, responding after some tags. I still don't hate him as an option. He just doesn't have that ceiling over 120 in the Richmond team. So if you want someone that can maybe get you some solid hundreds in the midfield and the best you can get to, he could be someone there. Newcomb, 103. I think owners would be disappointed now. That's 2 weeks in a row. He hasn't smashed it out of the park in 2 really good matchups. And I do feel like he is that player that the harder the matchup, the better he plays. But the easier matchup, he sort of just coasts along and doesn't really try too much. But 103, still ton. You still take it for sure. Sicily, 103 as well. Good score from him. Henry Huswaite, for anyone that took the punt on him, I know a good friend Vams took that punt and he scored an 87, so pretty good. Taezer, any interest for you for jumping on a Huswaite? Obviously, the 2 easy matchups for him have gone. He's got Melbourne again this week, which is good, but Nash will be, one more week? He played pretty well, though, today, Huswaite. So do you think he holds his spot? Would you be looking at him? What do you reckon?
I like Huswaite. I looked at him 2 weeks ago. I decided against him in favour of a more kind of traditional downgrade upgrade, but he is a good player. Just be aware that he's going to find it really hard to stay in that team when Nash comes back and Mackenzie comes back from a broken hand. So as long as, like, he'll make some cash, he's probably going to produce performances of minimum 70, but with a ceiling of maybe 90 or so. But his days are numbered, so just keep that in the back of your mind.
Yeah, agreed. Luke Trainer, Jordan, I know you messaged our group chat and said that he's just pretty safe for a 70, and he really is. Another 87. His second half as well in particular was really strong. So he had 32 points in the third quarter and then 29 in the last. So what's that? What do you got? 61 points there in the second half. So really good from him and gets his cash gen moving a little bit more again. That 2 is going to start to go away, and he's now got West Coast, North Melbourne, then Essendon, all at the G, all 3 games at the G. So 3 really good matchups. I'm pretty comfortable with him there at D6 for the time being, or even better if you can loop him. That would be obviously the dream scenario if you can do that. Jaiden Short as well, 80, tough matchup. Did get there in the end, had a quiet first half, better second half when Richmond started chipping it around a bit more. These easy matchups, I think he might have a few tons in here as well. So he is a hold if you've got him there. And besides that, not many other fantasy relevant names. Obviously, Warple 56. Unfortunately, if people jumped on him, I was pretty keen on him as an option last week as a cheaper guy, but he's hasn't been that pick there. Lawler with a 55, he can probably go if you've still got him. Obviously, I said the 3 easy matchups now, but he is an impact player. He's not going to accumulate. And I know he had the one score of the 95 against Brisbane, but more often than not, he has been between sort of that 45 and 65 mark. And I know Jep obviously said his ceiling's probably about 70 and obviously had the one game over, but more often than not, that's been proven correct. So he's someone that might be on the chopping block for me. Noah Bolter did get injured at the end of the game, ankle injury, so something to watch that could affect sort of Trainer and be good for him. A few people were worried with Bolter coming in, but Trainer had his second highest score of the year with Bolter there, so I think it's okay. And I believe that was it from that game.
No, Dylan Moore.
Oh, sorry, Dylan Moore. Just skipped over that. Yeah, got subbed out. So I know a few people, jumped on him this week and tactically subbed out.
I was this close to getting him a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah. And the thing is, people might go, I got tactically subbed out. That's why he scored poor, but he got subbed out at 3/4 time. 42 points in 3 quarters against Richmond is not what we want. He's just not scoring well. He's going to be, he might be in the 600s now, but he's going to have a 6 in front of his name. He might be someone that we just keep tabs on, but at the moment, we have not seen anything to indicate that he is anything like what he was doing scoring-wise last year, even though he might be playing good for Hawthorn. Fantasy, not so much. So, yeah, for sure.
He's averaging 68.
Yeah, that's really bad. So,
for a guy that's gone 90 the last few years, crazy.
Yeah, exactly. And final game of the... Yeah,
I did hear that he was carrying a heel injury or something like that. So just keep an eye out on that. Like there might be,
that's managing him or something. Yeah,
he might be managed, but managed for a reason, kind of thing. Maybe he's plantar fasciitis or just a sore heel or sore something. But yeah, that's what I heard.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, something to watch for sure. Moving over to the last game, which was the Q Clash, and Brisbane once again getting the job done over Gold Coast. Disappointing day for Gold Coast. It was only 17 points in the end, but probably should have been a little bit more than there. Brisbane clearly the best side there, and a few tons here. The 2 Ashcroft brothers, 119 for Will, 115 for Levi. Will has been outside of that 40, and then that round 1 game against Sydney has been a pretty good pick. He's turned up in more pretty much every game outside of that. So you take obviously the bad score's not great, but tons up. He's getting the job done for his owners there. But Levi Ashcroft, Taezer, he was in my trade plans this week, last week, and even this. And I was going to trade next week. I was like, yep, unless he goes massive, I'm not trading him. Well, he went massive, and a lot of people are probably thinking, well, he was gone, but now he stays. Probably, well, we can't trade him, surely.
No, you can't. I do want to just play devil's advocate. There's a reason why a lot of coaches either put him on the bench in favour of like a Boxall. I think DT Lemon did that as well to kind of mitigate the risk, because he's a young player. He's been playing pretty high time on ground. He's been impressive, but surely they're going to want to get a rest into him. And there's that risk of he's playing, I think he plays three out of 4 Sunday games or something like that. And two more of them are going to be last or second last game of the round. So if you get news that he's sub, you won't have trades or even the ability to switch him off your ground or anything like that. So There's a little bit of risk there eventually, but God, for someone who can score 115s, you kind of just take it.
Yeah, and I think he'll be fine for next week against North, and I think he'll play the game. But yeah, definitely something to be watching moving forward. But he's now over 700k, and his break even is now back down to 44. So we all thought his cash gen was pretty much done, but he's just a very, very good player, and all the Ashcrofts are. So he was
Especially
very, very good.
in the rain. I think
as well. Yeah,
I think it's now Ashcroft's in the rain, just like do not fumble.
Yeah, and I didn't think he was going to go. Like, I thought when the rain kicked in, he had a 40-odd point first quarter, and I thought, okay, maybe he might just get the 90. Like, he might just sort of trickle along, get some good points, but just kept going, just kept taking the marks. And when Brisbane was sort of switching it round, he got plenty of +6s, which was good to see, and even got a few tackles as well, which is something he hasn't done a huge amount this year, being more on the outside, playing on the wing and in the forward flank, but good to see a few tackles there to boost that score up over 110. Josh Dunkley, 106. Was very good, did a really good job on Matt Rowell as well in this game. Took tunned up there as well. Jasper Fletcher, for anyone that had him still on the team, was good with a 103. Jeffrey even a 102. And for anyone that has good old Zorko, he was looking, it was probably a tough watch for a lot of owners, but somehow with the lot of chipping in last quarter, 44-point last quarter to get exactly 100 points. But at the end of the day, you take it. He tunned up. Which was good, but yeah, didn't look too great for a lot of the day. And Kitty Coleman had a 130 in the VFL as well. So I'm probably, as a non-owner, probably not going to jump into him just yet. I probably want to see what it looks like with Kitty Coleman back in, because he might come straight in, or even maybe has another week in the VFL just to build that fitness up. But by all reports, Kitty Coleman looked pretty good in the VFL. A few 90s there from like McCluggage, Janelle. Noble got an 83. That I thought that was going to be a lot bigger the way he started. He pretty much had like 6 or 7 touches in the first 3-4 minutes of the game, but slowed down a bit, but still 83 is not too bad. Noah Anderson, sorry, Jordy, your boy, 81. Considering that he was on 37 at quarter time, that's pretty disappointing.
I was pretty frustrated.
44 points after quarter time. And I'm not just trying to do that to annoy you more. I'm just saying for people that missed it, that's, yeah.
I know. And Levi goes 115. And that really hurt my rank. Anyway.
Yeah. But I think Noah Anderson actually still pretty good trade target. I think that was a tough match against Brisbane in the wet as well. That certainly played a part there. But I think he'll be pretty good for the remainder of the season there. So someone to keep an eye on. Flanders still didn't do enough. 78, going to keep dropping in price. So keep an eye. But we haven't seen anything yet to be looking at him as a target. And I reckon that was probably it. That's probably it from those games. So we have gone for nearly an hour and 10. So unfortunately, we won't be able to get to really many questions tonight. We'll be obviously doing our Tuesday night Q&A. We do have a super chat here, though, from Chris. So we'll answer this. So thank you, mate. So he's asking Lindsay to Rankin or Bice to Nasai or Josh Dacos. So Taezer, where would you be going? Lindsay to Rankin or Bice to a Nasai or Dacos?
I think I like. I'd have to have a look at the matchups coming up. Probably, I like the uniqueness of someone like Josh Dacos, so I like that. Rankin, I think you might just be matching a lot of people ahead of you.
He's actually not as highly owned as probably what you think. I think he's just over 50% in the top 1,000 and about the same in the top 100. So I think he's someone that people have probably wanted to get in, but there might have been a target that they like more, so they haven't got him. But maybe that rises because he won 20 people that had him go inside the top 1,000 or top 10K or whatever. But yeah, it's a tricky one to split.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. Wanganeen Miller and Josh Dacos have pretty good draws coming up. Isaac Rankin plays Port, Collingwood,
low scoring.
Yeah, Collingwood, West Coast, Sydney, Brisbane, and Hawthorn. So that's probably a fairly hard draw. It really opens up for him after the bye. But sorry, I don't think I've answered it. But I'd probably be looking at Dacos or Wanganeen Miller.
If there was a way that Chris could do Lindsay to Josh Dacos, that would be the plan. Play Dacos in your midfield, but I'm assuming you probably... actually, well, hang on. If Rankin
Yeah,
Rankin's
similar price,
930.
yeah.
No, Rankin's 939. So Chris, you should be able to do that. I'd do Lindsay to Josh Dacos. I'd be doing that one because I think I'd rather keep Bice. Got a good matchup this week, and you get Josh Dacos in your mids because I'm assuming if you can do Lindsay to Rankin, you should be able to go Lindsay to Josh Dacos because they're very similar. I think they're pretty much the same price. So, I'll be doing that for sure. I'll just quickly have a quick look to see if there are any questions I want to touch on before we do finish up, because I know it's been a bit of a longer one. And apologies for people watching live. I think that the recording will come out fine. It's been on YouTube's end. They've don't know what's happening with them tonight, but it's been buffering a lot on my mobile and on the stream. So apologies for anyone that is tuning in live, but it's not our fault. It is the YouTube's fault. Andrew Griffiths saying, do we trust Boxall, Jordy? Saying, reminds me of Marais a few weeks will be sub. Isn't getting more minutes than like a Garcia. Do you think he just had low game time because it was his first game, or do you think that could be something that moves forward?
I'm actually a bit worried about it. Like he looks unreal. Like he got 60 in the first half, which was unreal, and I think he got 14 in the second half. I am worried because Philippou was not in the side, and I'm pretty sure Philippou will come back this week, and Mason Wood will come back this week. So they have to do 2 changes there with the side, and obviously they won. So someone has to go to sub, and I just wonder who's that going to be, unless they go with someone like a Collard or something.
Hasty.
Or someone that they can make sub, then but yeah, look, they play Friday night, don't they? So we should be at hopefully you'll be able to dictate your trades Friday. Maybe if he is sub, then maybe you'd go to what Taezer said, you go to a Lewis Hayes or something, and you pivot off that.
Or a Hardiman or Fonte.
Or a Hardiman. But, if he's not sub Friday night, I think you've got to get him because he should at least push out another 60, 70, I think, and generate the cash. So, I am a bit worried, yeah.
For those people that don't have him then, like myself, do you still bring him in, though? He's the only player besides Harry Boyd in the game that's got a negative break even, -7. Boyd's got -4. Then the next best is like an Oscar McDonald who didn't play with a 5. And then you got a few people with like Sandy Brock, Camporelli, 7 and 8. And then Will Lorenz with a 9. Then everyone else has got 10 or above.
I reckon you go a new rookie, maybe. If Taezer pretty hot on this guy, Hayes, I'd only go to Boxall if he's not sub, I reckon.
Yeah, same.
If he's sub, I think
wouldn't trust him on field either.
Yeah.
Yeah, if he's sub, for sure, I'm definitely not going there. But I'm just thinking, because the only player in the game with negative break even, I think that I've probably still got to go there anyway, just to pick him up and make some cash. But yeah, with the low game time, that certainly is a flag for moving forward, because I don't think he's going to be someone that we're going to want to play on field consistently, Taezer.
Yeah, and I think that's actually a role within the St Kilda lineup, is that they have that low time on ground mid. Because if you have a look, Garcia played that and had low time on ground, even when he was looking really good and getting a bit of positive feedback from people like David King and that kind of stuff. So I think that's just a role in the lineup, is a low time on ground mid, and he might be in that position. In which case, good, ride it. But it might be a sign that he's the last of those mids, and Philippou's got to come in at some point, and I don't think Philippou's going to be sub, so we'll see.
Yeah, agreed. We just had a question from Stality there as well, Taezer, saying, should I trade at Libba? Scored 52 as a premium. Obviously, Treloar came back in first game, and Bont, would he be a trade for you with the round 12 buy as well?
I'd probably hold till his buy, unless you're really on top of everything else in your team, or you think he is cooked. Just remember he played Port, which is traditionally one of the harder matchups, one of the more restrictive sides. Ballarat wasn't an easy game, even though they won big, but it was funny scoring, and some players scored all the points, and a lot of other guys who usually score well didn't. So I would probably just ride it until you get the rest of the rookies off, unless if he drops another egg, then maybe you got to pull the cord.
With Libba, he's a tackle guy, right? So this week they're actually playing Darwin against the Suns. So usually that's quite a high stoppage game, I think, for tackles. So I think Libba would probably suit that matchup, I think. So I think, yeah, you just gotta hold him.
See, I reckon if I had him and the rest of my team was in a good spot, I would be happy to trade because his break even's 140, Treloar's back and Bont's back, and we know that Libba with both those guys in can be up and down. I know this game was his first bad score of the year, but really since round 3, he's only had one score above 100, which was that St Kilda game, but he's gone 96, 85, 114, 94, 52, albeit there has been against, like I said, Brisbane and Giants and Port Adelaide. I don't know if he's the guy you can get to Sheasel, or if you don't have a Nick Dacos and you don't have anything else to do in your team, I think do it. But it's team dependent. If you've got like rookies, you still upgrade them. You hold Libba and hope he goes 100. But yeah, if your team's in a good spot and you can trade him, I think I would tick him off. Sean just saying, can we trade Bice if it's our only way to get Sheasel? Jordy?
Yeah, I think I'll tick that off. I think Bice is going to go right this week though. But yeah, if you're getting Sheasel, like he's going 110, right, Bales?
Yeah,
I think
yeah,
so.
I think pretty comfortably as well. I think the 110, he's not the tag target. It's always going to LDU. Like some teams will tag Sheasel there, but a lot of his ball is sort of those uncontested stuff. So it's like it's probably not hurting teams too much. But we love it as fantasy coaches, and he's still a very, very good player. So yeah, I think that he is fine. I reckon don't know if there's any other things. Yeah, a few people saying, can we trade Clary? But I think if he's named, you hold. You held for last week, so you probably hold. And it sounds like he will play. So, yeah, obviously we'll see in the week. But, yeah, that's what we'll do. But we'll cut it there. Obviously, we've gone for a little bit longer. Obviously, going through all the games, a lot of good chat and with the buffering and stuff. But we got through there in the end. But as always, before we do wrap up, we'll quickly go through our early trade thoughts. Obviously, we've probably had a thought over the weekend what we might do. Levi's probably thrown a spanner for all three of us there. He was probably going for all of us, but now we're probably holding. So, Taezer, have you had any thoughts what you might do or sort of your trades that you'd be doing right now?
Yeah, I'm going to be trying to stick with that rookie up, rookie down kind of trades. I think I should be able to get someone like Pryor down to Hayes if he debuts for Essendon, and then I'll be looking at what I can do with that other upgrade, whether it's someone like Lindsay, whether it's someone like Bice, or maybe even still an Ashcroft. If I can get him up to someone who I think's a keeper, I'll probably look at it. But yeah, still figuring that out, I reckon.
Yep. Jordy, what are your thoughts? What trades you do?
Yeah, again, very, very early. I think my original one before the weekend was I was going to go to a mid. So I was going to trade Levi to. I was going to try and get a Dacos or a Dawson and do what Taezer would do, like a Pryor to Hayes and Levi up. But I don't know if I can do that now. So I might look at some creative stuff. Is there a world we could go Philippou straight off the bat, upgrade a rookie? Not sure. I do like Tom Green as well. So at 102. So, yeah, I might look there. Otherwise, I might look at getting creative. It could be a Philippou or something.
Yeah. My early thoughts, so obviously Levi definitely threw a big spanner. So my early thoughts at the moment is doing like a Lindsay down to a Boxall on the bench and cash it in and loop between Cleary and Lawler at F6 for the time being. I would do Lawler over Lindsay, but don't have enough forwards on the bench. It'd be benching Cleary and then playing like a Boxall straight on field, which I don't want. And then at the moment, I would just be going Caleb Daniel up to Nick Dacos just because I want to have Nick Dacos for a little bit. Whether I stick with that or not is another thing. But my planned trade was Levi to Josh Dacos. Obviously, not going to do that now. Do I trade Bice to Josh Dacos? Maybe that could be something. But I still think Bice could go Good guy, all right. And I don't know why Guesty's giving me a call now when we're still going live, mate. He's busy tonight, but he's calling me while we're live. What's happened, Guesty? But I'm sure we'll hear from Guesty on a Tuesday night, I'm sure, or at least sometime during the week. But Taezer, mate, that'll just for tonight. But thank you very much for jumping on once again, mate. Always a pleasure chatting fantasy with you, mate. Where can the people find you across the socials?
At Taezer, and yeah, looking forward to keeping going this year.
Yeah. Is there some digits on the end of your handle as well?
At Taezer 87, I think it is.
Yeah. That shows how many times you do that on the pods. Yeah. So links in the description for podcasts and everything to go follow good old friend Taezer. But yeah, make sure you go follow him at Taezer 87. Jordy, mate, thanks for jumping on, and I guess the first time introducing you as one of the Fanatics, mate. Good to have you on board for the rest of the year, mate. Where can people find you across the socials, and last thoughts?
Yeah, just Jordan DeSena on X. And yeah, keen. Thanks for having me. Keen to be on for this year and chatting fantasy. Yeah, I think final thoughts maybe actually reminded me of Josh Dacos, and yeah, maybe that would be somewhere I look and save that 100k in that mid. So yeah, got to get creative and have a look at the cash gen. Also got to look at the team value bails and see where we're at on the scale.
Don't mention team value to me, mate. I don't know how mine's going. Had some players go well this week, so I might catch up slightly, but I still think I'm a bit behind there. You can find me at BAILSDT, and you can find us at AFL Fantasy Fans across the socials. If you are tuning in live, as I said, apologies for the live stream with the things on behalf of YouTube. But yeah, make sure you smash like on the video if you enjoy not just tonight's content, but all the other content we put out as well. Smash a like there and subscribe to our YouTube channel. We're just over 200 away now from 4K, so we're getting there pretty quickly. So if you haven't subscribed yet, get involved. Content on the channel is daily there as well. And if you are tuning in on the podcast, then we appreciate you as well. And if you could leave us a 5-star rating and review, that would be massively appreciated there. Always appreciate your support. As always, thank you everyone for tuning in and sending through any questions. Apologies we didn't get to them, but if you'd like guaranteed answers, head over to our Patreon, patreon.com/AFL Fantasy Fanatics. Exclusive Patreon Q&As every week. And other bonus content there. You get team reviews all the time. You get the Ask Me on Q service for free. So make sure you guys head over there as well. We got our Tuesday night Q&A as always at about 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, I believe it is, or somewhere around there. We always tweet out before we go live, so make sure you guys tune in on Tuesday to get all your questions answered. But thanks everyone for tuning in. Have a good couple of nights, and we'll catch you guys in a couple of days for a Q&A. Thanks everyone. See you then.